What's up everybody, back for another Honkai Star Rail video, and we have a pretty juicy developer radio for you today. We have a few cool updates and a few things people have been waiting for a while. I skimmed through just to make sure it was big enough to actually make a video on, because sometimes the dev radios are like, yeah, nothing this time, but in like 2 updates we're actually gonna have like this feature and then like this feature and then that's it. It's like, okay, how do I make a video pretty much talking about like 2 sentences worth of stuff, right? Like, but this one we're actually having a bunch of updates. They do mention 3.6 a lot in this, but there are a few updates coming now, right? Now let's jump into it. So first things first, no grind needed, instantly unlock character enhancements. Starting in version 3.4, Silverwolf, Kafka, Blade, and Jinglu will have enhanced mode. This enhancement includes adjustments to their abilities, traces, and eidolons. This is the first official reveal of them buffing eidolons, so that's very interesting, right? For example, Silverwolf's ultimate skill have both been updated. Her ultimate is now an AoE attack instead of a single target, and her skill now prioritizes adding the weakness type of the first ally in your lineup. Absolutely massive. AoE Silverwolf, and you're implanting the first character in your party is massive, because most of the time you're going to want your DPS. So this is very, very, very big. I'm excited to see how Silverwolf will work in something like a break team potentially, right? That could be some fun shenanigans since I do have Silverwolf, right? It does suck having all of them but Blade, but we'll see. Eidolons is interesting, right? Because I do have an E2 Kafka and an E1 Jinglu, so we'll have to see what they do with Eidolons. I'm curious if they're going to completely change the Eidolons or keep them the same, but like, so for example, Kafka's E2 is a dot buff, right? I think it's like 25%, or it's 20 or 25, right? What if they update it to be like 40%, right? Or what if they completely change it and they change it to something like, oh, enemies take or enemies have like less effect res or something like that, right? I'm very curious to see how they'll go with that. It says, meanwhile, Trevos can toggle enhance mode on or off at will, turn off to restore the character's original abilities. Very interesting. I don't think there will ever be a point where you want to do that. Maybe if they have more gimmicky bosses who are like AoE Silverwolf would actually hurt you because you're not supposed to debuff like the left side or something like that. And more like, some RPGs do that where it's like the main boss's head, the left arm, right arm, and then if you debuff the right arm, the left arm gets an attack buff and like wipes you, right? I don't think Star Rail will do anything like that, but I guess that's useful, and it's also cool for me for testing. I would love if I could turn off Eidolons, because your boy would spend a bit more in Sorrow if you could, right? Next thing though, we have new feature, more freedom in story experience. Starting in 3.4, 2 new features will be added: skip dialogue and story summary. Version 3.6 will feature introduce the story recap feature, so we can now just straight up skip. Story conversation will be broken into segments you can skip by paragraph. Awesome. I wonder if it's every single one or just like the minor ones, but this is still huge, right? When skipping, you'll see a summary of key events. I see Herda and Scrulium. I see. This is technically a spoiler, so if you haven't caught up with the story, don't listen for like the next 15 seconds or until I start scrolling. This is when Herda and Scrulium pop up near the end of the story when like everything's gone to shit, right? And it just recaps that from the looks of it, so that's pretty cool. Alright, we have dialogue skip feature will apply dialogue for trailers missions. Does not apply to cutscenes or exploration gameplay. That's fine. The fact that it works in all this is so nice. Oh my lord. Story summary will be available in the worlds of Informers, Jarlo, Herda Space Station. The rest will be added in version 3.6. Okay. Traders can choose to re-experience. Oh, this is in 3.6, by the way. You can re-experience completed Trailblaze missions, Trailblaze continuances, and companion missions. This is very, very good if you just need a quick lore recap. Additionally, story recap will also allow for you to experience different dialogue choices or have the dialogue options be freely chosen, thus making the recap experience even smoother. However, the story combat and exploration experience cannot be rewound. For more details, please pay attention to future announcements. I'm curious if this will let you, right? Because one of the achievements I missed was Luocha's hidden side, right? And you're supposed to pick a certain dialogue for the Luocha when you're doing the thing with Welt where you're like hunting down to see if Luocha is like a bad person or whatever. And I missed one of the dialogues that gave me that achievement. I'm curious if you can go back and get those, because that's technically Jades you can get from it. It's only 5 for most of them, I'm pretty sure, but it's still Jades you can get, right? Next up, we have our next thing. Feeling overwhelmed while building your characters, coming in version 3.5, we'll be launching a Scholar Wubby beta on Hoyolab to guide you through the process. The Wubby analyzes in-game data and considers the characters and relics you own to intelligently recommend team lineups plus optimal relic setups for each team. But that's not all. Wubby goes the extra mile by offering personalized optimization tips if he can help you identify promising relics hidden in your inventory or suggest which relics to farm next. During the beta, we warmly welcome all trailers to try Wubby on Hoyoverse and share feedback to help Wubby further so it can grow into your go-to companion for team building and character growth. Interesting, right? I wonder how they're going to do their stats, right? Because from my understanding, right, is if a character is old, they just go off of like the most used, right? For example, right, they'll be like, okay, this DPS wants crit rate, right? A lot of people will run crit rate body on this DPS, so we're going to recommend crit rate body, right? Assuming that's how it goes. For newer characters, I'm assuming they either test it themselves or whoever's in the beta recommends it. I'm not too sure, right? But I'm assuming that's how they go about the whole like recommended relic stuff for like the farm page, right? Very curious to know if this is going to be a somewhat similar thing, or maybe it's like AI optimized and it kind of just like, you know, does it in real time. Suggesting what relics to farm next is pretty cool. That'll probably be helpful for a lot of players. I'm very curious to see what this looks like, because if you're somebody who does not watch YouTube videos, doesn't look up guides, and you're pretty clueless, or you just have to go off of what you think is the best, this could be very helpful. If it shows, like, crunches the numbers, that would be insanely massive, and I'd be super hyped. Like, if it would be like, okay, you have Jinglu has an ice set and Jinglu has a scholar set. Based off of the stats you have, Jinglu will do this amount of damage potentially, and she'll do this amount of damage on this or with this buff. If it can do that, like all the calcs right in there, Hoyo, props off to you. Will it probably do that? I highly doubt it, but you know, I can dream, right? And then that's it, right? So, quick recap: we have the 3.4 character buffs, right? We knew this was coming. It is a instant thing. You don't have to grind like an easy A or a hard stage. It is instant. We got a slight tease at some of the buffs. Solarwolf has AoE ult and weakness implant for the first ally on your team, right? Then in 3.4, we will be getting a skip dialogue and a story summary feature. And in 3.6, we will have a story recap, right? Then in 3.5, we have the Scholar Wubby. So we have a few things to look forward to, not only in 3.4, but 3.5 and 3.6. Obviously, when 3.5 and 3.6 roll around, we'll probably have another dev radio where they're going to talk about even more stuff, because I imagine they'd be doing a lot more than just, you know, a Hoyolab exclusive thing, and then story recap, which not saying story recap isn't big, because you're straight up replaying those stages. But, you know, if that was all the quality of life for an update, I'd be like, okay, it's not too crazy, you know, especially if you don't really care to go back. You don't really get anything from that, which would suck. But overall, I think this is a solid one. People have been asking for story skip for so long because they just don't like the story. I'm one of those, like in Wuwa, I'm sorry, I just can't get into the story at all, but I do like the game. So having a skip dialogue option is very cool for someone like me who just kind of wants to speed through and be able to explore the new area, right? Same thing with people in Star Rail. I know, you know, I actually like the Star Rail story, but some people just don't, and hey, it is what it is. I respect that. Go ahead, shoot through the event, get your jades, and, you know, start grinding, right? But other than that, let me know in the comments what you guys think of this dev radio. Do you think it's hype? Do you think it could be better? Do you think they should add more stuff? What stuff would you recommend? Let me know in the comments. And of course, I will catch y'all in the next one. Stream announcement and drip market should be in the next couple of days, so do keep an eye out for that. I'll post it as soon as I can. Hopefully, I don't work any of the times, because that would be pretty awkward. I don't think I do, but I'll have to check my schedule. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next one.